Lake Mirror, they called it Veduva, the widow's lake. But long before that, before the mapmakers came with ink and metrics, the locals had another name, Lacul Fara Faga, the faceless lake. They didn't call it that because the water had no features. They called it that because it took years. Set high in the Carpathian Mountains, Lake Veduva is so still that even wind seems reluctant to touch it. The trees that surround it bend away from the shoreline. Birds don't fly across. Fishermen don't cast nets here. GPS rarely works within its basin because nothing about the lake wants to be found. But sometimes, just sometimes it calls. And someone answers. The lake chooses whom it remembers. Irina Nistor was born in the town of Oknesibului, a place of salt mines and saints. She was bright, curious, with dark hair, always pulled tightly into a braid and eyes the color of wet ash. She married young, 23, to a man named Anton, a railway surveyor from Cluj. Her family approved. Her priest blessed the union, and in spring of 1939, they honeymooned at a cabin near Lake Veduva. Anton had found the cabin himself, cheap, remote, nestled between pines, and built before the Great War. It had no electricity, no plumbing, but Anton adored its silence. Irina didn't. She found it too quiet. "The silence here isn't peace," she wrote in a letter to her sister. "It's waiting." Their days passed uneventfully. Walks in the woods, bread and wine at dusk, candlelit evenings playing chess. Irina was 5 months pregnant, and Anton was more tender than she'd ever seen him. She believed they might truly be happy. Until the boat ride. The last picnic, April 2nd, 1939. A Sunday. Bright and Windless. Anton suggested they row across the lake and eat on the opposite shore. The boat was an old rower's vessel, its paint peeling, its oars half rotten. But it held. They packed boiled eggs, cheese, and a flask of cherry wine. Anton rowed slowly. Irina trailed her fingers along the glassy surface, watching the ripples chase each other. Halfway across, she grew uneasy. It felt like something was moving beneath us. She would have written, if she ever came back. Anton claimed they were about 10 meters from the far shore when the boat lurched. Not capsized, just tipped. Irina, already off balance, fell in. Anton said he dove after her, that he felt her hand grasp his forearm, that something pulled her down. That's all he ever said. Because there was no body. The search 3 days of dragging the lake produced nothing. Not a shoe, not a scrap of dress. Anton was questioned, but never charged. Locals didn't need charges. They knew. The lake had claimed her. And that was the end of it. Anton sold the cabin, abandoned his job, and disappeared into Bucharest. The town spoke of him no more, but they whispered about her. For months, hikers reported hearing a woman's voice calling from the shore. Not screaming, just calling. One child described it as a lullaby with no words. In September of that year, a tourist attempted to photograph the lake at dawn. When he developed the film, his own face was missing from the image, replaced with blurred hair and water-streaked eyes. "There is something alive beneath the lake," wrote Father Claudiu in his journal. "It wears the faces of the dead." Dan Petrescu didn't believe in ghosts. Not until he moved into the house that used to belong to Anton Nistor. It was 1972, and Dan was 36, a literature teacher, a skeptic, and a man recovering from divorce. When he saw the ad for a mountain cabin near a lake with a rich history, he jumped at it. He wanted quiet, clean air, solitude. He got more than that. The cabin was decayed but intact. Dust settled like skin over every surface. The fireplace was functional. The bedroom overlooked the lake. On his second night, he noticed something strange. The lake never rippled, even when wind danced through the pines, even when rain fell. It lay there, flat, expectant. The discovery on the 5th day, Dan began clearing the attic. Rodents had chewed through half the beams. A floorboard creaked and gave. Beneath it, a wrapped bundle, linen, damp, smelling of salt and age. Inside were pages water-stained, handwritten, stitched with thread at the spine. A journal. It was Irina Nister's. He knew the name. The story was local legend. But this was no replica. The ink faded in parts. Fingerprints stained the margins. And the first page read, "If you find this, I am already forgotten." Dan didn't tell anyone. He was a man of reason. But reason offered no explanation for what was written. Inside. The journal entries. March 5th, 1939. Anton sleeps through it. I do not. Every night I wake around 3. Something changes in the silence. I hear the creak of the dock, but no one's there. Last night I dreamed of being underwater. I could breathe. I was watching. Myself in the bed, still and pale. March 9th, 1939. Something is wrong with the lake. It's no longer just a body of water. It's a body, with veins, with a heart. I can feel it beating under the earth. March 13th, 1939. I tried to touch it last night. I woke and walked barefoot to the shore. The water rose up not in waves, but straight, as if it were reaching back. March 19th, 1939. It watches me. I see my face in the water, and the reflection smiles. Before I do, Dan began having the same dreams. First, of drowning, then of waking up beside himself. On April 1st, he added his first note in the margin. This isn't imagination. I've heard the lullaby, the exact melody she described. The next day, he wrote, the water reflects what's not there. I saw my father in it last night. He's been dead since '68. And finally, something is trying to finish this journal. The last page wasn't hers, because the last page read, in fresh ink, she dreams of rising. Dan left the cabin that week, told no one why. Left everything behind, except that page. The journal disappeared. No one has found it since. But in 2004, a hiker found a torn scrap inside the attic wall. A single line, scrawled in the same faded script. The water remembers everything you've ever forgotten. Asterisk, asterisk, the year the State University funded a research. Trip to Lake Veduva. Officially, it was a geological survey. Privately, it was something more. Among the researchers was Dr. Mirela Dragan, a physicist with a side obsession, mirror anomalies. She believed that locations with intense trauma or energy could interfere with reflection, that mirrors like water could slip. She brought 19 of them. The setup on August 12th, Dragan and her assistant, Ayan Vasar, arrived at the lake with boxes of equipment. They placed the mirrors in a circle around the northern shore, equal spacing, 15 meters apart. Each mirror faced the lake. Cameras faced the mirrors. They connected thermal sensors, motion alerts, even a modified spectrometer. The first night, nothing. Second night, static bursts, minor interference. Third night, a camera picked up a mist forming, but it dispersed in seconds. But the fourth night, things changed. 3:14 a.m., mirror 7 motion alert. All 19 mirrors fogged simultaneously. There was no humidity spike, no rain, no wind. Footage reviewed later showed something impossible. Mirror 7 reflected a woman standing behind the tripod. Long, dark hair, white dress. Face obscured. She did not appear on any other angle. Only the mirror. Dragan enhanced the footage. The woman never moved. Not a shift. Not a blink. But for 3 frames less than a second, her hand lifted and pointed. Toward the lake. The audio file. That night, one of their audio recorders left in the center of the mirror ring captured a voice. It was faint, layered under static and wind. Not all who drown die. She sleeps where breath remembers. Don't look down. When they returned to Bucharest, Dragan analyzed the wavelengths. The voice did not match anyone on the team. And worse, when she reversed the audio, it formed a phrase in Latin. Memoria aqua est. Water is memory. The conclusion. The university archived the data, but never published it. Dragan left academia the following year. She no longer speaks publicly, but in 2018, her nephew uploaded a short video from her personal journal. It shows Dragan whispering into the camera. She doesn't want to be remembered, but the water wants us to try. Asterisk. In 2007, a Romanian film crew decided to shoot a documentary titled Waters That Haunt, a 6-part series exploring eerie lakes across Eastern Europe. Episode 4 brought them to Lake Vaduva. The crew consisted of 6, 2 camera operators, a historian, the director, a sound technician, and a professional diver named Sorin Ionescu. Sorin had served in the Romanian Navy for years. He'd dived in frozen lakes, sunken mines, and blackwater trenches. He laughed at local legends. "If there's a ghost down there," he said, "I'll interview her myself." He never laughed again. The descent on September 19th at 11:46 a.m. Sorin entered Lake Vaduva. The water was unseasonably cold, 2 degrees Celsius, lower than any reading from the day before. His gear was functioning. Visibility was poor, but manageable. The camera mounted on his helmet fed live video to the surface. At 9 meters. Silt, moss. At 14 meters. He reached a ridge unnatural in shape, curved like bone. At 17 meters, everything changed. The water grew clear. Asterisk. Too clear. He entered what looked like an open dome beneath the lake bed, a hollow, like a bubble of impossible architecture carved into the mud. Inside, nothing grew. Nothing swam. And then he saw it, the silhouette hovering near the domes. Center was a figure, pale, female, hair floating like ink. Face turned away. Sorin paused, spoke into the radio. No response. The surface feed showed nothing but static. The audio, a deep hum, almost musical. Sorin moved closer. The figure began to rotate, slowly, gently, until her face turned toward the camera. No expression, no pupils, just ... His own face. The surface team screamed. The screen cut to black. Connection. Lost. Recovery. Took 41 minutes to recover Sorin. He was found unconscious at 4 meters depth, arms at his sides, floating vertically. His oxygen tank was full. No flooding in his mask. No signs of pressure trauma. When he awoke, he spoke Latin. Mater aqua, mater oblivionis. Mother of water, mother of forgetting. He never dove again. He retired. Moved to a monastery in Alba Olia. He never spoke of the lake again. But his helmet cam, thought to be damaged, was restored in 2015. The footage? Still encrypted, except for one final frame. A text overlay. Not typed, earned in. Not all reflections are yours. Asterisk. In 2013, a British paranormal team, Thorn Collective, visited Lake Vaduva. They were known for theatrics, but this time, they brought science. Their goal, a 72-hour EVP session. They brought thermal cams, EMF detectors, hydrophones, and most importantly, analog tape decks. Nothing digital. No wireless interference. They set up camp at the East Dock. By nightfall, 5 recorders were running, spread evenly around the shore. At 2:17 a.m. On the second night, tape B began recording by itself. The tape, childlike whisper. Don't follow the lights. They lie. They lie. Then the water is not deep. It is wide. It touches. Elsewhere, she is below, and she remembers. At 2:23 a.m., the tape stopped. No wind. No one near it. The next morning, the entire cassette was blank. No magnet damage. No mechanical error. But the backup cloud audio recorded through a failsafe. Analog to digital loop captured something else. A scream layered under the whisper. And when slowed, reversed, and pitch shifted, it formed a melody. Dr. Halloran, the team's EVP expert, recognized it. It was a traditional Romanian lullaby, but with different lyrics. Sleep not, child of glass, for mother wakes at last. Her arms are wide, her heart is hollow, and where she sleeps, you must follow. Amelia that night, one of the researchers, Amelia. Cole vanished from her tent. She was found at dawn barefoot, shaking 1 kilometer away on the lake's opposite side. She had scratches on her hands. Her pupils were fully dilated. Her only words, I saw her. I saw me. Asterisk, asterisk, some say Lake Viduva is a wound. Others say it's a mirror cracked inward, a place where what you were, what you might have been, and what you most fear, all float. Together, they say that when the wind is low, you can still hear her voice, sometimes calling, sometimes weeping, sometimes laughing in a voice that sounds like your own. So if you find yourself near a still lake, if the surface reflects something that doesn't move, when you do ... if your name is whispered from below, ... don't listen, and above all, don't look too long, because when water remembers, it remembers everything, even you, asterisk, asterisk.